if you haven't been to mindstudio.ai, this is the tool that we will be using for all of this. Again, this is the company that I'm CEO of. You can find this at mindstudio.ai. And we specialize in this thing called AI agents, as you can see here. And what do they do? Well, they do things. They help you get all kinds of things done. Okay. And so we have a Chrome extension, okay, that you should, again, not now, but later, click on this button. You'll go to the Chrome store and you will install this Chrome extension. I've obviously got it installed. And once you have it installed, you will see this little thing on the right-hand side here of my screen that I'm moving around, okay? It's the little button. You can reposition it. You can click on this M to open it up. I've got mine sort of stretched out by default. It's like this big, but you can stretch it and make it bigger. And of course, collapse it. And you can also pin, as we call it, these AI agents to this dock. And so you can have instant access to them wherever you go instead of having to click this button, which then gives you access to sort of many more things that are here. Okay. And so if you keep scrolling down or if you click on AI agents, you will find, now I'm logged in and I've got a bunch of AI agents that I've starred. That means favorited. So they show up here. I've got a bunch of AI agents that I've built. As you can see, I've actually published 841 AI agents. You're not going to have any of these yet. And so you will see this default screen of some AI agents that are available here in our agent store for you to run. Now, we are just getting started with this. This Chrome extension went live like a week and a half ago. Even less, I think a week and a day ago. And so it's new. And so today we've got, a couple of dozen AI agents that are in here. Soon you will see many more. And you will learn, again, in the rest of this sort of session, that not only can you use these AI agents, which is primarily what we'll start with here, I'll also show you how you can customize them, like deeply customize them to do what you need them to do, and also build your own agents from scratch. Now, it sounds like crazy, like who am I to build AI agents? But I assure you that building AI agents is extraordinarily straightforward. And every last one of you, by the time you leave here today, are going to feel like, oh, wow, I know how to build AI agents. And now the question is like, what AI agents do I build? Do I build them for myself? Do I build them for my team? Do I become a professional AI agent builder and go build agents for various types of organizations that need them? All of this is going to be, I'm making a bunch of promises here to you, but I intend to fulfill them, and you guys will hold me accountable, whether I'm speaking the truth, that all of you will be able to build these things. Okay. These AI agents, if you click on them, have sort of an AI agent detail page here that you can see. Kind of like a video detail page on YouTube where you can like learn about the video and things like that. And in fact, these have videos, and so you can actually like watch a short video of how this AI agent works and how you can use it. You can click to unmute this. You can also obviously sort of read about, here, I'll make this a little bit larger, larger here for folks, what this agent does and how it works. And you can also see sort of samples of what this agent outputs. Now, many of you have experienced AI in the form of conversational AI, where you chat with an AI and you ask the AI model directly to do something. And that's awesome. That has like lots of use cases, and that's great. Most of the things that, actually, I think all of the things I'll be showing you today are non-conversational AI agents. You don't have to chat with them. They are already specialized in doing something for you. And that something might be, in this case, with this deep research agent, is to, when you ask it to do research on something, it goes off and it does a lot of work autonomously, and then provides you, in this case, with this like well-formatted report. So here, I asked it to do an analysis of Palantir stock and how the election of Donald Trump is impacting this stock. This company, Palantir, was co-founded by a big supporter of Donald Trump. and therefore, potentially it has implications here. And so what this thing did is it went through and by the way, how it works is it uses Google to do a bunch of Google searches. We're about to dive into this. I'll show you exactly how it works. For now, I'm going to keep it sort of high level. And so it creates a research plan based upon the thing you asked it to do, to use Google and then do many, many Google searches autonomously to find all of the sources that it could potentially use for being able to analyze this. It then goes off and crawls all of those sources and gets all the data from those websites. And then it calls AI models to be able to analyze all of that data. And then it sort of thinks through it and creates this like really deep, I'm just going to scroll through it pretty quickly here, but as you can see, like a really deep executive summary would probably be a good way of putting this, including obviously links to all of the things that it's found, an analysis, and really, really compelling stuff here. And by the way, if you keep scrolling, as you can see down below here, it provides all of the sources that it's using and a link exactly to that page in the source and cuts out the things specifically that it used to do is. So no more asking the model to use its knowledge to somehow help you do this research. That's silly. That's where you get all the hallucinations and you get all this other stuff. Here, this is simply, you could call it like intelligent brute force Google searching at scale. That is what this deep research thing is. Has nothing to do with the fact that it uses a model, has to do with the fact that it's able to do a massive amounts of smart Google searches using these things called Google search operators, or also known as Google dorks, and then be able to really find the data, pull it out, compile it, and then analyze it, and then generate this like well-formatted report. And again, these reports are actually downloadable and they're shareable. They are artifacts. And so this is like an article you just wrote. You could take this and what one more block is, I'll show you in a second what these blocks do. You could take this and post it to LinkedIn or Twitter, or automatically send it via email, or automatically put it in your Google Drive, or like do any of this stuff. So that's this deep research agent. It's extraordinarily powerful. Now there's two ways you can run it for all of these agents. You can run them directly from the store here, right? So again, you could click on this deep research agent, or just go back here and simply choose, hover over it and choose run, right? And if you choose run, this thing says, what do you want to research? Right? And so you can type in what you want to research. In this case, again, I could say Palantir stock and the Donald Trump effect to it, and that's good enough. Or you could be much more precise, and the more precise you are, it'll take all of that into account. So that's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is you could be, again, on a website, and you could be on one of these screens, and then right from here, you could run this deep researcher. And again, as I mentioned, here are, if you click on this little M here, once you've installed the extension, you will pull up our extension store. And here it shows you the things that you've starred. And so I'll show you how to start things in a moment. So these are sort of favorites. It'll show you the agents you yourself have created. And I'll show you how to create agents. You'll be able to run those. It'll show you, and then it'll show you like all the agents by categories that are in our agent store. One of them is this deep research agent we were just talking about. So look what happens when I click on it from the extension here. What it's going to do is it's actually going to go grab this page right now, and it's going to pull out a bunch of the stuff that's on this page. And it's going to say, which of these do you want to research? And then you can just sort of choose these, like this one, or social media evolution, Twitter's history, exploring the rise, impact, and transformation of Twitter through CF. So you can just like trigger any of these by themselves, or you can click something else, and then again type in that thing that you wanted to type. And that's how this works. As soon as you trigger it, it goes off and it starts doing it. Now, some of these agents take a few seconds to run. Some of these agents take potentially a few minutes to run. This one, again, because it's doing all of this Google searching, on average takes 4 minutes to run. And so you can just go about your business and do whatever you want. If you want to get notified when this thing is finished, you can just click this, toggle this, or you can just leave it running and you can continue on to a different tab and continue to do your work and then check back in later on. Okay, so we started that thing and we've got it going. Okay. And so let's look at maybe a couple of others, and then I'll open some of these up, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so let's look at the categories. Excuse me. Again, soon there'll be many more. For now, we've got a category called research that's got a number of these agents. A category that we're calling analyze content, which is to be able to take any piece of content that you find on the web, push a button, and instantly be able to do things with it. There's a whole category that's building for YouTube. Soon you'll see over a dozen of these like YouTube specific AI agents that give you superpowers on YouTube. By the way, oftentimes I tend to refer to these things not as agents, but as superpowers. It's like, I've got the superpower. When I'm on a YouTube video, I can push a button and this thing does like all this work for me and brings me back this insight. You know, I don't know what better word to call it than superpower. But so if you hear me saying superpowers, I just mean agents. Right now, we've got 4 of them that are green lighted in here. Others are in QA. There's over a dozen that I know that are coming. They're amazing. I've been using them for weeks. Like you couldn't like pry them out of my cold dead hands. That's how important these things have become. They've transformed YouTube for me by being able to do that. There are things, if you're a software developer, you know, we're software developers. There are amazing things you can do that we use ourselves, miscellaneous, etc. So soon you'll see many categories for like other things people use, you know, Gmail or Notion or like whatever else you use. And again, no matter what applications you use in your daily life, meaning via the web, via browser, they might be Salesforce, they might be HubSpot, they might be Notion, they might be whatever custom platform you use, these buttons can be made available. See, this thing is still running. These buttons can be made available on that website simply by you installing that extension and running them there. Okay, great. So hopefully you understand categories. Okay, so in the research category, we have another agent called People Research. This is similar to Researcher. It takes about 3.5 minutes to run. Again, you can watch this quick video of what it does. You can be on any article or any page or any document, any PDF, anything that can like load in your web browser, and you can push a button and it will extract all of the people and entities that are mentioned on that page, and you can push a button and it'll take, again, on average 3 minutes, and it'll provide this like really comprehensive, amazing report on those people. Imagine if you were like a private investigator and you were able to do like deep research on a person or a company and spend hundreds of hours and be a master of Google search queries, of Google operators. That's what this thing does for you. It's crazy. It's amazing. Wow. Okay. Let's go back to this. Fact checker. We live in a world where, you know, if you're trying to make up your, you know, mind about who to vote for, or if you're trying to make up your mind about what stock to invest in, or, you know, what might be real and what might be hype in your industry, this fact checker is a killer app. Again, it does deep research and analyzes all of the claims made in a piece of content and then shows you all of the things that are either, you know, sort of clearly not true, and explains to you why they're not true and what is true, explains to you things that might be misleading, explains to you things that are ambiguous, and it's actually like that kind of stuff. By the way, there's other things later on here that I'll show you that are also sort of different dimensions of this kind of a thing of like analyze this piece of content, as we'll get to here. Get emails. This is awesome. You can be, again, on any web page, on a Twitter profile or something else. You can click a button. Again, most of these things I trigger from the button, not from this button here, right? Not from these pages, but I'm showing them to you here because that's the easiest way to show you where they live. And again, you can run them from here. And if you try to run this thing, right, it's going to ask for a URL, and that's what it's going to do. And then it'll get all the names of the people that are mentioned in entities, present them to you, ask you which ones of these you want to get contact info for, and then it's going to go off and it's going to use this service called Hunter.io It's like a really powerful database of contact info, and it'll find you phone numbers, email addresses, LinkedIn profiles, other social profiles for people that are just like mentioned in a random article, for example, or mentioned in a financial disclosure or anything like that. So very, very powerful kind of generic, again, thing that you can use. Okay, a couple of more quickly, and then we'll dive into some of these again more deeply. Analyzing content, a quick TLDR, just like this thing is too long. Lots of people love to read long reads. I'm one of them. But the problem is like you're spending your day reading long reads. You spent your whole day doing it. Sometimes you just want to get like just give me the stuff. I don't have time to read it. This thing is awesome. You push a button, it gives you the TLDR. This thing is a more sort of comprehensive and thoughtful TLDR. It pulls out all the salient points and then writes you, again, a really deep executive summary analysis of these things. And again, you can like play around with these, watch these videos. They're really easy to run just by pushing a button. Then this one is a YouTube to executive summary. So you could be on a YouTube video. Again, we'll play with all of these. I'm just kind of teasing you here. We're going to go and play with all of these as we go through this. You can be on a YouTube video, and instead of watching the video, like I love to watch, I love it because it has, these things have lots of information, these like long podcasts, like Lex Friedman, for example, you might know this name, that does it, or Joe Rogan, or like whatever, people that do like long podcasts. Many times these have amazing information in them, but it takes hours and hours to watch these podcasts. Well, I just don't have the time. And so by pushing a button, less than a minute later, I get all the things that like mattered in that podcast extracted out as bullet points or an executive summary that can be also enriched. We'll talk about some of these terms that are important to understand when we're talking about AI. Enrichment is one of them. So this is like really, really powerful. Okay, here's another one like enrich content. As you're reading an article, let's say, you can push this button here again in your Chrome extension. It'll say, hey, there's a bunch of things that are being said here, a bunch of esoteric terms. Let me figure out what things might not be so clear, and let me sort of expand on them. And like instead of a TLDR, it gives you a TLDR and then like expands on the things that aren't mentioned in the article, but can help you better understand this. By the way, again, when I use the word article, I don't necessarily mean news article. It can be any kind of a thing that you're looking at. It could be a Google Doc. It could be a PDF. It could be a financial report from a company, etc. Okay. Remove bias. This is really, really powerful. Everybody that writes these days, tends to be, which is just the way humans are, right? Kind of like, they write from their perspective, and sometimes bias comes in. And we, as critical thinkers, could certainly use our mental energy to try to sort of like, eliminate the bias, but that's hard. That takes a lot of mental energy. Here, you just push a button, and it basically rewrites this article in more plain, unbiased terms. It's huge. It's a simple little thing, but it's like really powerful. Or simplify. Oftentimes, we all get faced with this like, I'm tired, or I just don't know the subject matter. I want to understand this, but the language is like too complex, too many acronyms, too many. Great, no worries. Push the simplify button. All of a sudden, you get the rewrite. It's simplified. Okay. You guys get the point. I'm not going to be able to even get through all of these. We'll come back to these in a bit. I want to show you how these things generally work, and then we're going to dive into them and sort of double click on them and see how they're made so you can more intimately understand what they do. And then we'll come back to these again. And at that time, you will have even like more clarity on like what do these things do, what might be their limitations, how you could take them and fine tune them for your own purposes, right? Like you might not really want the TLDR that's a generic TLDR. You might want a TLDR specifically with the context of who you are and what you care about in a TLDR. And you can do that. And that's actually really easy to do. And that makes that TLDR absurdly more valuable. Okay. All right. Let's just play around with some random buttons. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here. And again, I'm going to go to YouTube and do it here. And you guys get to see kind of the random stuff that gets recommended to me on YouTube, right? So this is, let me mute this. This is a piece of software called Studio One that's used for music production. Okay, and I like it, and periodically I record some music. And this is a tutorial on how to do what's called mastering in Studio One. It's 32 minutes. And so like I could watch this tutorial, and if I have time, like I'll do it. But again, I also have the capabilities here to do other things. And again, I've got buttons pinned here, but I can just go here, open it up, because you guys won't have anything pinned by default. And again, this is what you will see. And here you will see in this YouTube section, TLDR YouTube video, and then we can just say run. And right from here, I can say run. And so what this thing is doing right now is it's grabbing this transcript. See, so down below here, I don't know, some of you may not even know that these things have transcripts. And like you need to go find it. Here it is. And you can see it. And like you could read this transcript, but that's not very interesting. And so this little simple thing, all it does is just gives you this like super thing. This isn't very interesting at all, but there are better ones here. I've got this one sort of pinned here just so like you can kind of see a simple one. Another one could be this like YouTube to executive summary. This is going to give you a more comprehensive thing here. Again, it'll go off, it'll grab the transcript, it'll run it through a bunch of things, and then it's going to provide us a much deeper executive summary on this 32-minute video. Now, other things that I have here is YouTube video to cheat sheet, which I can click this, and it'll provide for me a cheat sheet, sort of like all the notes. You remember I told you not to take notes, please? Because I don't want to distract you. There's no reason for you to take notes. We've got things that can take the transcripts of videos that will be handled here later, and I'm just going to push a button, and then it's going to give me an artifact, which is all the notes. So here you go. This thing generated, this thing, we didn't have to watch the video. Again, you can sort of expand it out and read it this way. You can share it. You can open it up in a new tab. And you get this thing. Here, should you master your own tracks? Here's how you do it. Yeah, so all of this analysis happened simply by me pressing this one little button on YouTube. And by the way, I'll show you later that when you make your own, you can set these things to only appear on certain pages or certain websites. You sort of don't pollute your doc here. And so when you're on YouTube, you will have your YouTube tools. And when you're on Wikipedia or Gmail or Notion or wherever else you are in your own private thing, you will only have those tools. And they're available for you with a click of a button. Or we can get a bit different here. And so let's see what else I've got here. Oh, this one, somebody built this. I installed it. I'm not going to run it on this thing. It's called YouTube Christian Analyzer. And this takes a YouTube video. Again, this one isn't very interesting for that, and analyzes it from a standpoint of like, how much does this video, this situation, align with Christian principles and doctrines and things of that sort. And so like very, very powerful stuff. Let's see, here we go. Video to LinkedIn post. Let's take a look at what this thing does. And so again, I'm on the same video. I click this button. And so what this thing is doing is it's grabbing the transcript. And again, I can open it up here and watch it as it's doing it. Soon we will dive into what is going on right here. You guys will actually understand what's happening with all of this. And you see it sort of created this thing. Want to master your tracks like Pro and Studio. It's using what LinkedIn likes, which are like emojis and things like that. And by the way, if I like this and I say next, this thing is going to go ahead and post this to my LinkedIn profile. And so we just like took a piece of content. We just like watched the video and said, oh, this video is cool. Our, friends on LinkedIn will want it. And here it is. Here's that thing that just got posted by simply me clicking a button and then clicking post to LinkedIn. Here it is. It's available here now. That's how easy it is, sort of like take a piece of content, turn it into another piece of content, and share it on social media. Okay. I'm going to delete this here, but you get the point. Okay. So again, now that you understand like how to use these things, let's go ahead and uh, see what these things are sort of made of. And then we'll quickly learn some basics about customizing and making. And then we're going to come back to using them. Because once you understand how they're made, you will be much better at actually being able to even leverage them and use them and make them your own. Okay. So let's quickly take a look at this deep research thing again. Again, I'm just going to go here where it's available with its page. Now, again, we can run it directly from here. Remember what happens if we run? It gives us this form. We can type in what we want to research and we can run it. The other thing we can do is look at these three little dots. Excuse me, here. I'm going to click these. As you can see, you can star this, which means that it's available in your favorites. You can pin it to the extension, which means that, again, it will show up when this thing is expanded like this here. And then you can make a copy. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a copy. Okay. And so now we have made a copy of that deep research agent. And I'm going to show, so this is our editor. This is how you make and how you customize AI agents in Mind Studio. Now, there's a lot of stuff here, but you don't need to understand all of this stuff. And so I'm going to show you how this thing is made, but don't try to understand it just yet, because after I show you how it's made, we're going to go and we're going to make some simple ones. And then we're going to come back to this one. You'll understand this much more. So none of this stuff is hard, but when you first see it, you might be like, oh, there's a lot of stuff here, and there is. And so all you should see from this is like, you can open these things up, any of the ones that are in our agent store now. You can make a copy of them and sort of just look inside of them. And don't be afraid to like modify things and do stuff, because like you can discard them and make another copy if you want. Or you can make a copy, modify them for your own purposes, and publish them by clicking this little button here, which we'll explore. And then you can have your own custom agent, a custom deep researcher, not one that just does this like generic deep research. No, one that specifically is fine-tuned to do the kind of research you need it to do. And you might make another deep research agent to do different kind of research, and another one to do different kind of research. And so we encourage you guys to look at the store. Again, this agent store here, as these things not only being things that you can use right out of the box, virtual box here, but also like as templates that you can sort of remix, make a copy of, and customize for yourselves. Okay, great. Again, most of these things I'm not going to touch upon. We have plenty of tutorials on YouTube. You guys can go deep with it later. I'm just going to show you some of the things that make this what it is. So AI agents are made up of these things we call workflows. That's really all they are. They're like a workflow. They start somewhere and they go somewhere. And this one has like these 5 workflows. The ones that are really important are, this main flow, this run query, the source image. Again, so I'm going to show you what this thing does. It's this like multi-step process over here. I can also collapse some of these things on the left and the right, and you can see it. And so when this agent gets triggered, okay, either via somebody typing in a request or somebody pushing a button on a page, and the thing comes up with what do you want to research, and they pick something. The first thing it does is, so these things are called blocks, okay? You can add these blocks by clicking this plus button, and we have many different types of blocks that you can add onto this canvas that do stuff. We will dive into all of these in a few minutes here, okay? And so that's what these blocks are. And you just arrange them together and you just sort of route one to the next one. This block, it's called a generate text block. What this means is call an AI model and pass it a prompt, like prompt an AI model with some. That's what this is. There's just a prompt here, you see? And it says, analyze the request, this is the user's request, to research something, and create a research plan for how to best leverage Google search in order to fulfill the user's request. Think about the questions you might ask, what types of sources would be useful, where and how they might be found. Focus on answering the user's. Now, again, so do you need to learn exactly how to type this? Not at all. You can experiment with a bunch of prompts of your own. And again, you can modify these. This is our copy now of this deep researcher. We can do whatever we want with it. So we can change any of this, we can erase any of it, we can add new blocks, we can do whatever we want. Okay. And so that's what this one does. And then at the bottom here, you might see these things here that, again, could potentially look kind of scary if you've never seen this kind of stuff, but it's actually very easy. This is about as technical as Mind Studio gets. There are these things called variables. Variables are just, again, these like a word, a name, and that you assign a value to. I suspect most of you know what a variable is. I'm not going to try to explain it. They're really easy here. You can always Google it and understand it. And you reference variables in Mind Studio by using these double curly braces. There's a variable called current date that automatically comes with this. Sometimes it's good to put it in here. It's not necessary, actually. So it's here just for good practice. This is the one that's important that's put in here. And this is the request. This is the user's request of like, what did they say they want to research? That's stored in a variable called request. Now, this thing right here that says this request, I can actually delete it if I want to. This, again, just good practice to tell the AI model that this is something that's a specific thing here request. This will work just as fine, okay? And then it takes this and it saves it to a variable. It runs this. It calls a model. In this case, it calls this model called Anthropic Claude. We support over 50 AI models from all the major providers. You can mix and match them any way you want. If I wanted to change this model to run, Gemini 1.5 Flash, I just say use. Now this thing is running this model. You can also tune these other parameters. Again, you can learn more about all of this by clicking this little question mark. On any block that you're using, if you click the little question mark, it will explain to you how this block works. You can learn about variables and how the block works and all that. So it's like very straightforward. And again, I really encourage you to do what I'm doing here on your own time, which is like to go through our agent store, make a copy, and just look at how these things are made. And that will do a much better job of getting you guys to understand this than even I will do in this class. I hope. Like if you spend time doing this, you'll find, okay, great. So this creates a plan. That's the most important thing. Creates a plan, a variable called plan. See, save to variable called plan. Now we go to the next block. This block also calls an AI model, 3.7 Sonnet. And what it says is, here's the plan. Now, where did we get this plan? Well, we got this plan by asking this model here to create a plan. And we stored it in a variable called plan. And now we can use that variable plan here. It says, here's the plan. Using this plan, generate an array. In this case, it says of 7. Again, we could change this. We could say as many as needed. We could say 10. We could say 20, whatever. Diverse and distinct Google search queries. And so this thing creates queries, an array of queries. Now you can also in here, as you can see, provide sample output of how it stores this array. Don't worry about this now. This might seem complex. You'll understand it later. Don't worry about it. It creates a bunch of queries. And then it takes those queries and it uses a different kind of block. This block is called a run workflow block. And what this block does is it runs another workflow. In this case, it runs this workflow called run query. So for each one of these queries that it generates, these 7 queries, for each one of those, it's going to call this other workflow, and it's going to run through these steps. So for the first query, it's going to search Google, and it's going to scrape the search results, and it's going to get all the stuff, and it's going to bring it back to here, and then it's going to run another one, and another one, and another one. It's going to do that 7 times, because we said to generate 7 queries. And then it's going to store all of that in a variable, and then it's going to use this custom JavaScript function. Again, don't be scared. I'll show you later. These things are not scary at all. You don't have to know anything about JavaScript to be able to use them. They just work. And it's going to use JavaScript to normalize this, as it's called. It's going to create the report using another model. It's going to then generate an image to put at the top of the report, because you remember this thing had an image here. And so this is how this thing got generated, is by running all of these steps. Now we did it simply by pushing a button, but the AI agent did all this like crazy heavy lifting of like thinking about a plan and creating these search queries and executing the search queries and crawling the websites and bringing all that content back and analyzing it and going and creating an image and repackaging it. And like all of that was done by us clicking a button. It's here. Again, you don't have to build any of this. You can modify this. This is a researcher. Any other research you're going to want to do is going to follow a similar pattern as this. And you can just go into like these things right here. They're just plain English. The writing style of the report should be similar to news publication. Well, in your case, maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it should follow this specific format. You want it to have an executive summary. You want it to have a list of all of the sort, like all of this is just plain English, and you can just change it. And then when you're ready, you can hit publish. And you just created a brand new custom researcher to do what you want that does all of this stuff. And that will take you just a few minutes, really, if you know what you're doing. Okay, now one thing that's not important, but important that you should know is that you can click on this thing here, or you can click on this thing here. And you probably don't want to call it copy of deep research. You might call it, financial researcher. And this thing you're going to make it to analyze, financial disclosures from publicly traded companies, right? And then you can give it a new icon. And so you can like erase this icon, you can upload a new icon, so you can find it. The simple things, like just so you know about these things and you can do it. Okay, by the way, there's other things you can do here when you publish it. You can say, are other people allowed to remix it? Now, nobody's going to know about it unless you publish it to our store, which today you have to actually ask us to do that. So you can make things if you want to publish them in our store. You can share them, but nobody's going to know about it. But if they do know about it, do you want them to be able to remix it? You could turn this off. And then also, do you want them to be able to sort of run it without the thing? Okay, so there's like a bunch of things here. I'm not actually going to get into this at this moment. Let's go ahead. And again, so now that you've seen these things and how you can simply go to these agents and again, make a copy of them. Let's make a copy of this thing here. Now, some of these things, you'll click on them and you'll be in this run state, as you can see. So this is the run state where I can put just a URL here of this YouTube video to tweet storm thing that I haven't shown this to you yet. So maybe we do that. Let's go ahead and we take this thing here and let's run in another way to find them quickly, if you have too many of them, is to do this. Just start typing what you want and you'll find it. Okay, and I can just say run. And so this thing is going to grab the transcript of this video and it's going to turn it into a tweet storm. Now, does everybody know what a tweet storm is? By the way, I can only see one screen here, but I'm going to assume.
No, Dimitri, you want to tell us what a tweet storm is?
Well, we're about to see it. Thank you, folks, for asking. Here you go. A tweet storm is a series of tweets that all belong together. They are typically numbered. This is a common format, 1// and then they all go together. And so this is like a tweet package, not one tweet because tweets are short, but a collection of tweets, sort of a Twitter thread. And that's called a tweet storm. This is a common format on X, what used to be Twitter. And so what, think about what we just did. We just took this 30-minute video. We pushed a button while I was yapping. This thing created this like format. By the way, for those of you that do know tweet storms, again, tweet storms have typically like a pattern, a language. They tend to like to use emojis. They've got sort of like a theme. They create some hype and whatever. And this thing knows all of that. It like takes it into account and it does this. And we can take these things and we can. This one is set up for me to just like copy these things and do it manually. But we could easily, I'll show you later, take this and have another button that says actually go and execute the tweet storm. And it'll just do the tweet storm for you. This one here just provides the content for the tweet storm. Now let's go. I want to show you another interface here. Right from here, I can click this button here, and there's like a bunch of other things here. And so I can do another run of this, meaning to run it again. Okay. I can view the history of my runs of TweetStorm. And so all the other places where I've used tweets, this button, and I can find those tweet storms. I can add it to start, which again shows up when I click this button. I can add it to be pinned, which shows up when this thing is extended. Mine are done here. I can open up in a new tab. I can edit it, which is what we're about to do. And then there's some other stuff here that's like for admins and things like that. You're not admins, so you don't need that. So I'm going to say edit agent. And so you can see this is the whole thing. That agent that generates the tweet storm is incredibly simple. Now, let's look at this and start here in understanding how simple these agents actually are to understand and actually and how to make these things. Okay? Okay. So let's take a look at this thing. Now, the agents by default have a start block and an end block. So when you create a new agent, here, in another tab, let me do that. I'm going to go to my workspace. I'm going to go to build, and I'm going to say create new agent. Now, there's two ways you can create the new agent. This way, which is what we call the Mind Studio Architect. We're not going to use that now. This is, I'll call this the advanced way. Even though in some ways it's the simplest, you just tell it what you want it to build, and it will put all the blocks in for you and like do the work. I encourage you not to start with this. In fact, not only do I encourage you, I'm going to teach you how to build these things from scratch. So then when you do end up using this because you're lazy and you want to get there faster, you will know what it is this thing is doing. So we're going to ignore this magical thing for a little bit, and we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to say open blank project. And again, you can go to this is a blank project. There's nothing here. It doesn't have a name. I'm going to ignore these things for now. I'm going to ignore this for now. And the thing that matters here is this thing called automations. And so as I said, by default, you get a start block and you get an end block. That's what you get. Okay. Let's go back to this one. I see somebody raising their hand.
Yeah, the quick question, multiple guys have how to go to this ID, what ID you are using?
This is called Mind Studio. If you go to mindstudio.ai and log in, and then go to my workspace, okay, and go to build or make a copy of something and say create new agent. That's what I did there. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks for asking the question, and please mute. Okay, so again, this IDE is built into Mind Studio. You don't need anything else. It's just there. And we'll cover this a number of times in this time that we've got, and so you guys will be able to see it. Okay, so let's look at the start block. This right here is an important part of the start block. By default, it's set to on demand, and these things are actually aren't available. Here, let's look at this one. Sorry to confuse you. It's set to on demand, and it's here. Because we are, in this case, building something that works on YouTube that's built for the Chrome extension, this thing is now set to browser extension. When it's set to browser extension, you get these variables that are available to you. So whenever this AI agent is triggered by somebody pushing the button here on the Chrome extension, right off the bat, this AI agent gets from the Chrome extension the URL. So this is this thing here from the page that it's on. That's stored in a variable called URL. The metadata, this is the stuff that's behind the scenes of this, the name, the description, the image of this thing, and things like that. The full text, and the full text is all the text that's visible on the page. It gets that. In the form of YouTube, it also gets the transcript in this full text variable. If the user is selecting anything on the screen, like highlighting anything or things like that, if you highlight things, that then is stored in this thing called user selection. And raw HTML gives you all of the HTML that makes this thing possible. Again, don't be afraid of any of this. It just happens automatically. You just get these things. So when you say, I want this thing to run as a browser extension, you get all of these variables. Now, here, we added a block here, and this block is the fetch YouTube captions block. Let's take a look at them, and right after that, we'll look at other blocks. This block, again, was added by clicking plus, going view blocks, and here fetch YouTube captions. We just click this and it puts it on that screen. And different blocks have different configuration options. So this block has these types of configuration options. This generate text block has different types of configuration options. They're not hard. They're easy. You guys will know them after you're done here. You can figure them out. Okay, what does this one want? Well, the first thing this block says is, you want me to fetch a YouTube captions from where? And so what it needs is a URL, video URL. Now, what's the video URL? Well, the video URL is this thing at the top of the video. That's the video URL. Meaning I've got another raised hand here. I'll get back to that in a second. I'll take a break and you guys can see it. Okay, so that's the YouTube video URL. Now, here we're not going to hard code it, right? Because we want to make the extension be able to, or sorry, the AI agent, an extension, to be able to take any URL. And the good news is, again, we've got the variable called URL that is getting passed to us automatically by simply clicking a button here. And so we know what the URL is here. And so we can simply reference it in these double curly braces. You remember I explained this to you. These are variables. So we can say the URL we want is going to be the URL that gets passed in here. Great, easy. And then it's going to say, what do you want to call the captions that come back? What are we going to call that variable? So we can use it later. I called it transcript. You could call it data. You could call it captions. You could call it Bob. I wouldn't call it Bob. Transcript, I think, is a good name for it. Be descriptive. This is the transcript now that we got from here. Now, what do we mean by transcript? It means it grabbed all of this stuff here. It automatically grabbed all that stuff here by, whoops. Oh, if you lose your thing here, I started scrolling. These things are important. You can just hit home and you can get back to where you are. And again, you can pinch and zoom and do all of that on this canvas, move it around. Okay, transcript. And then it says, do you want me to format it as plain text or this thing called JSON? We're not going to cover that here. We don't have time. I'm going to do, and some of our other folks are going to do more advanced sessions here. JSON is extraordinarily powerful. It's actually not hard. We make it super easy. You don't even need to use it. For now, we're just going to call it plain text. And again, you can even like choose languages, etc. And so now we're going to get the transcript of that video, click the button. And then we're just going to use one block. Again, this whole thing is just like get the transcript and then send it to a model. And the model we're sending it to is 3.5 haiku. Again, we can change this just by clicking here and using any of these other models. Some models are better than other models for various things. We actually have a thing here. I'm not going to demo it, but we have a thing here called Profiler that allows you to compare many models side by side for things and see which model for this specific step, does better versus another model. So there's a bunch of tools. We're not going to cover it here now. This just calls haiku and says, you're an expert in breaking down long-form content into engaging structured tweet storm. Now, this model already knows what a tweet storm is. Some of you didn't know what a tweet storm was, but that's okay. The models already know what a tweet storm is because it's a common thing. So I didn't have to do much more than that. It says, given the full transcript of the YouTube video, extract the most valuable insights, summarize them concisely, format them into a compelling Twitter thread. Return only the tweet storm and nothing else. Now, the reason this is here is sometimes these models say, here is your tweet storm. I've gone ahead, like they're verbose and try to explain what they did. We don't want that. So we just say, just give us the tweet storm. And then here we can give them even more descriptions here. Follow these steps, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And then we give it the transcript. We pass it we give it the instructions, we pass it the transcript. Again, we can control these things. I'm not going to get into this now. Don't worry about them. Most of the time, you don't need to touch them. And then here we set this to display to user. Okay? Or we can say save to variable. Okay? And by the way, so let me show you one more thing. So I'm going to say change this. I'm going to say save this to a variable. And I'm going to call this variable already here. What should I call it? Tweet storm. Right? That would make sense. We're going to call this variable tweet storm. And I'm going to click plus. I'm going to add another block called display content. And display content here again says, do you want to display this to a user or do you want to pass it to a variable? I'm just going to say display to user. And in double curly braces, what am I going to type? tweet storm. And this thing even like autocomplete, so I can just say, and this does the same thing. I didn't have to change it. But I'm just showing you that you can take this, save it to a variable, and then use this variable in another block. And now if we want to publish a new one, again, let's rename it. I'm just going to call this new YouTube video tweet storm and not be very creative and say publish. And now this thing is already built. Again, it's available in our Chrome extension. We could find it by going here and either looking for it in our new things that are here, or again, I want to show you this. We can just search for it. New tweet storm. What's new? So what's going on? Demo gods got me here. A new YouTube tweet storm should work. Something's going on. I apologize, but it should work for you. Okay, I don't know what's going on there, but that's how that works. Okay, so again, these things are these. Let's again work with this agent. This is the new one we just started, and now we can add blocks. So what kind of blocks can we add? Let's quickly take a look at these blocks more in depth. And by the way, we're about to refactor all of this. This organization doesn't really work very much anymore, so I apologize, but like you can generally see them. Analyze image. And again, so like you can click this, you can put it in here, and you can see what this thing does. Whoops. If we move this thing around, I seem to be having some kind of a odd thing. Here we go. This thing takes a prompt. You know, the URL for the image to be analyzed, this needs a URL of the image. And then the output variable, where does the analysis go? That's how that thing works. Analyze image URL. And here, by the way, you can choose the model. We support different models for doing computer vision, you know, Google, Ideogram, OpenAI, etc. If you want to delete a block, you can just click delete and you delete the block. Okay. And that's how easy it is to put the blocks here. Display content, which we already saw. Extract text from file. Okay, so like you can give it a file URL and it'll do that. Generate charts, generate images, generate text, which we've used. Jump to another workflow, meaning trigger another workflow. A logic block that allows you to do if this, go here. If that, go there. That's what this does. To present a menu to the user, like here's a bunch of things that you can choose from. To query data from databases, basically vector databases in this case, to run JavaScript functions. For those of you that know what JavaScript is and how to use it, you can actually use that. You can run JavaScript or Python function, many other things. Yeah, I'm going to breeze through them. I'm not going to go through all of these. For social media, you can search. There's a new social network called Blue Sky. You can search Facebook pages, Instagram. You can create a LinkedIn post, which I already demoed to you. Or simply, again, let's click on this LinkedIn post one and see how that works. We can say, create LinkedIn post. What does it need? Well, first of all, it needs you to authenticate to it. If you haven't authenticated to your LinkedIn, you will have to say add a connection, and then you can connect to Google, LinkedIn, Slack, etc. Once you're connected, you never have to do it again. By the way, you can manage multiple profiles, multiple accounts here. And so you can do that. And then you can basically say, what do you want me to post? And here again, you can write words and you can write variables here, right? So your variable name here. And so you can take this and you can post this to LinkedIn or post things to Twitter or search things on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all these. I just want to get you guys to understand these are like really simple. They all present like different interfaces, but none of these things are hard. It doesn't require you to have any like knowledge of coding or things like that, or create a Gmail draft or create a new Google Doc. So like you could go and get a summary or some analysis of something and have it create a new Google Doc for you. And you can take that Google Doc and share it with people, or a Google Sheet, or, you can search Gmail for various things. And when they meet some criteria, you can do things with them, etc. Send emails, create drafts, create labels. This is a service called Hunter.io, which is a database of people's contact information. So you can get people's email addresses and contact info, fetch YouTube captions, and fetch information about the channel in question, or all the comments and analyze what the comments are like, or search for various trends on YouTube. If you're a YouTube content provider, you want to understand what videos you might want to build, you can now do all of that programmatically. An AI agent can do that for you autonomously. Okay, and sort of many other things, okay? The other thing I want to show you here that you can do is you can create AI agents that have like forms that are presented to a user. So it doesn't just have to like scrape things off a website. And so if you hit plus here, again, you can say user input. And so you can create things that like feel like applications, like human applications, where whenever this thing is triggered and run, you can present different types of screens, like a long text input, a short text input, multiple choice things, or image multiple choice things, or different types of rating things for the user that's using the AI agent, in this case you or somebody else to do it, or allowing you to upload a file. And so you can make an AI agent that allows people to upload some file from their computer in order to then analyze it and do something with it. And that's like trivially easy to make this agent to do that by simply saying upload file, say what happens to the variable, right? And this, I'll call this file data. Again, you can call it anything you want. The label text could say upload your file. Okay, and then you can do sort of many other things, right? File type, you can only say only specific types of files or any type of file or whatever, right? Do you want it to do some pre-processing? We're not going to get into that. And so we just created this thing. And again, we create a new variable called file data. We can go back to our main flow, and this thing has this. We can create another one of these, right? We can say, let's create another one. We're going to say user input, and here we're going to say plus, and we're going to say create new, and here we're going to use long text, and we're going to say do what? And we're going to ask the thing, upload a file. What do you want me to do with the file? Okay. And so here I'm going to call this, do what? You can call it anything you want. Okay. And so now we've got like these two things we've collected from the user. And now we can, for example, call a model. And we can say, this is a file, a user. By the way, you can say anything you want. I'm just going to write it this way. Uploaded. Do this with it. Okay, and again, here you could put it directly in here. And so here I'm just going to say, this is one way to do it. This is the file. And here in double curly braces, we call this, sometimes you can find it here. You see file data and do what? And so here we can say this is the file, and here we'll say file data. And here we can say do this. And here we can say do what? Okay? And here we can say display this to you. We just created this AI, and we're going to say, file analyzer. And then we publish it. And then we can run it. We can open it up. And this thing is going to give us a form. Oops. File analyzer, run request. Oh, this thing is set. Let's go back to this thing and edit it. Edit the agent. We set it right here. If we go to our start here, see, we set it to browser extension. We need to set it to on demand because we're creating just a user application. I'm going to say publish. Okay, we're going to open AI agent, and this thing is going to give us a form. We can upload a file, and then we can say, do what? Let's see if I've got like anything in here that's uploadable, that's like text. Should have been more prepared for this. I might have something that's here now, extension thing, zip. Okay, well, anyway, whatever, document PDF. I don't know what this is. Kind of don't want to upload it. I think it's like important stuff. And then it'll analyze. It'll give you another form and it'll analyze. Okay, you guys get it. I'm going to stop here because we've got, for now, 20 minutes. And I know there were a lot of questions that I kind of skipped over. First of all, and again, let's see this in chat because it's going to be hard for all of you to talk and I can't see everybody's faces. Maybe the first question is, does any of this make any sense? Is any of this valuable? And maybe you can type in yes, no, you suck, you give me thumbs up, whatever. Okay. Then let's see if we can get some uh, questions. And I think raising hands maybe might be a good way. And we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got a hand raised here. Who's raising their hand? Manoj, could you
Thanks a lot for this session. It's really valuable. The question I have is regarding the costing. Like, if I want to play around with this AI agent and build something, do I need to pay, or is there a place I can go and do the free?
Great question. So the way this works is when you join, you automatically get $5 worth of credit to be able to run all of these things. Now, some of these things, most of these things that you run cost fractions, of a penny. And so you could run hundreds and hundreds of these just on that $5 thing. Some things that require a lot more processing, like researcher, cost, 5 cents, 10 cents, 50 cents. It depends. You could make something even costs $1 every time it runs. Just depends on how much compute you're using. And so the way Mind Studio works is, our model is that we charge for usage. And so if you go to mindstudio.ai and you look at pricing, okay, again, these are sort of our tiers. Here you get up to 10,000 runs. Every time you trigger something, that's called a run. So for free, you get up to 10,000 runs, and then you get $5 credit. And then depending on, again, the model you're using, if you keep scrolling, you'll see different models charge different amount of money for 1 million tokens. Again, you don't really have to understand all of this stuff, but you need to understand is like some models are cheaper than others. Some models are better than others at certain things. Some models are faster than others. If you're using the agents that we've created, if you go here and you look at agents, it gives you the price of these agents, right? And so executive summary, this is about 5 cents every time you run this executive summary. TLDR, this one is, a fraction of a cent, thousandth of a cent. So that doesn't cost very much at all. Some things are more expensive, like this deep research on average costs about 64 cents. Now, why average? It depends on what you're researching and how much data it's pulling from the web. But this is about right. And on average, it takes about 4 minutes. On average, other things like TLDR, take 3 seconds. And again, when you build your own agents, you can explore all of this. Oh, there's some other things that I want to show you. Here, let's take a look at, sure, why not? Let's again look at this TLDR. We're just going to make a copy, show you how easy it is to make copies. This thing's one block, right? It says, here's the content. It's called full text, right? Because it's set to trigger by browser extension. And full text is a variable we get of like what's on the page that the user is looking at. That's called full text. And so it gets full text and it says to the model, in this case, Gemini 1.5 Flash, which is a fast, inexpensive, awesome model. I love to use this very frequently. It says, hey, here's the full text, and analyze the content, create a TLDR. Again, you can be better at this, at doing this analysis. By the way, let me again, sort of jumping around a little bit, but this is valuable. Let me show you another thing you could do. You could go to like any AI model, like in this case, ChatGPT, and you could say, write an AI prompt to do this. Oops. Given content from an article, create a summary specifically for evaluating from, by the way, too verbose, from investment perspective. Okay, and again, if you're like lazy and like you don't even want to think about like what do you want to do, you can get any AI model to give you this thing, or you make it more specific, and structured. And it'll give you this prompt, and you can just cut and paste this prompt into, the thing you're building here, and do that. And again, you now know how to like take, there it is. This is a better prompt. Okay, so I can just like take this thing here and then copy it and paste it in here. And now it's going to do better things here that, in this copy of TLDR here. Okay? And so that's all this works. And then you're done, and you're done with it. Okay, so hopefully this helps. And again, once you publish it, you can do, oh, sorry. The thing I want to show you is you can run this thing in this thing called debugger mode. And so here you can publish it and run it, or you can run it in debugger, okay? And so run it in debugger. Here it says you need to put in the URL of what it is that you want to run. And so in this case, we're just going to put the URL. Sorry, I've got too many tabs open here. And so I'm just going to give it this URL here, and I'm going to run. In this thing, I'm going to expand it. You can see what it does in debugger mode. And so you can always access this debugger when things are running right here, and all the things you've run. You can then look at what's happening. And it says, okay, this action has been started. It's running this main workflow. It gives you a bunch of other stuff. Here's the URL variable. Then it takes that URL variable and it does that prompt that we showed it, right? And you can expand this and it says, here's the thing. And then, it analyzes it and it brings back the result and all of that. So again, all of that you can get from this debugger mode. Don't forget about that. Also, if you do something here that's like doesn't work, as you can see now we have an error here. You can click on this error and you can see message in a generate text block cannot be empty. And so it says like, I can't generate anything for you unless you type something here of like, what do you want me to do? Now that error goes away. Okay, so hopefully that helps as well. Again, there's many more advanced things here. You're just like sort of seeing the outline of this, and this should help you get started and make many different things. I think the other thing, again, before I take more questions, I want to make sure that you guys understand is that even though like researcher has many, many blocks, as you saw, and you can make a copy of it and modify it and republish it and make a new one. Even if you just kept playing around with creating new agents that just do like one thing, call an AI model, taking something from a web page on which you're on, you will find countless use cases. Meaning, I'm sure all of you use a bunch of SaaS products or other services that you need to log into. And you're logged in, you've got like this content in your CRM system where your AI extension, if you push the button, can have access to that. And you can use that as input to build new things. You can build completely custom tools just for yourself with just one block or a couple of blocks, and just build these like insanely valuable tools to automate your own workflow. And I hope like you're already seeing that from some of the things I'm showing you. Okay, let's take another question here. Somebody unmute and go.
I wanted to ask you if how is this different from Langflow, Make.com, and NA10?
So you mentioned three of them. There are many things that out there that we've seen that allow you to create things with AI. I unfortunately spend all my time in Mind Studio, and so I can give you some very basic answers to the ones that you brought up because I've casually looked at them and sort of gotten feedback from the people who have built AI agents using Mind Studio. By the way, there have been over 150,000 of these AI agents that have been built by people that are being used and by individuals or small businesses or medium-sized enterprises, government agencies. For example, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, the British IRS, uses Mind Studio, or a big publishing company called Advanced Local publishes all these newspapers, has over 80 of these AI agents running, etc. So I get feedback from people. The feedback I get about N8N is while N8N is popular, that Mind Studio is just much easier and faster to build things in, and people struggled there. And finally, like by the time they reach out to me, they're like, thank you for Mind Studio. I spent a bunch of time trying to use this. I thought it was cool, but I just couldn't get it. And I love Mind Studio. It works for me. And so that's the answer there. LangChain and other lower level frameworks are good, are fine, but they're for developers. They require you to write code. And even, again, people who know how to write code, oftentimes after using Llama Index, LangChain, etc., end up showing up here and again, reaching out to me and saying, hey, I know how to use these things, but this is just much faster and easier. This is a better way to write AI agents than writing them in code. I don't need to write code anymore for this. I can just do that. So that's for that. For things like Make and Zapier and MuleSoft and like many other automation things, we oftentimes see people using these things in conjunction with those, where they might be a company that knows how to use Make or Zapier, and they've got a bunch of those implementations already. And what they find out is that it's really easy to make components using Mind Studio, to make like little intelligence components that they can then put in their Zap or their Make calls them scenarios, in their Make scenarios. So they still use those things to do some stuff, but they use Mind Studio to build the intelligence components to automate those things. And while Make and Zapier and others allow you to build some intelligence components, we're much faster, much easier, much deeper instrumentation to be able to fine tune them and analyze them and optimize for cost and latency. So we're specialized in the AI piece of it, while Make and Zapier and those are specialized in just sort of generic orchestration of things. By the way, they're very powerful. We're not at all knocking Make, Zapier, etc. They're awesome. Again, often people use them together with Mind Studio, but they're just used for different things. Yeah.
But if we build something in VO or Claude, right, can I literally just copy those prompts or elements of those prompts and then paste them? And then you guys would automatically create the different blocks based off of the full prompt.
So I didn't show you this. And again, we're running out of time here. So if anybody is interested in even more advanced continuation of this, I'm happy to do another one of these, taking this cohort and moving you guys further up the line. I mentioned that there was a thing called Mind Studio Architect. And with the Mind Studio, instead of building from scratch, you can get Mind Studio Architect to actually build all the stuff for you. You can absolutely give to Mind Studio Architect a bunch of the stuff you've already done in these other platforms and say, this is what I'm trying to do, build it in Mind Studio. And it'll just like put all the blocks out for you. It might get it right the first time. You might need to fine tune it, but it doesn't matter because now you guys know how easy it is to do this. Like once you know how to build things from scratch, you can build things autonomously.
The foundational prompt that I might have used in these other attempts to make something, I can take that foundational prompt, paste it in, and I will automatically get the 10 or the 8 different blocks that then I will edit per block to refine to make sure it could do what I'm looking for it to do.
That's true.
Okay. That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Hey, Dimitri, first of all, thanks for making this so easy for people. And this is a great service. Second, we would like to look from the angle of security and privacy. So assuming that we take it for a corporate use case, what measures are you taking for security and privacy? And secondly, how are you preventing or how are you making sure that your platform doesn't allow malicious use cases?
So from a security and privacy standpoint, so there's multiple dimensions there. Some people, when they say that they care about security and privacy, mean that they want their AI agents to only be available, to authorized people. And by default, they're only available to you. And then there's a share button, and you can specifically allow certain, kind of like Google Docs. You can specify what people are allowed to use it, and they have to authenticate to be able to use it. Or if you want to, you can say anybody that's got the link can use this AI agent. it's up to you. And of course, even if they have the link, nobody knows about the link. So you could sort of have what's known as security through obscurity, only allow people that know about the link to use it. So that's one dimension of it, which is like access control. Another dimension is sort of like private information leakage as a sort of a generic term. And this is like some companies are concerned about like, oh, you guys support like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, Mistral, DeepSeek, Perplexity, blah, blah, blah. And like, we don't trust any of those. Like, we love the platform, but we don't trust any of those models. And our answer to that is no problem. What model do you trust? Or what models do you trust? And if you have models of your own that you're running on premise or in your private cloud or some other models, it's really easy to be able to create what are called functions, custom functions. These are basically code blocks. And so you got to write a little bit of code. Either you can do it, or here, let me quickly share my screen again. I didn't show you this. So there's two things I want to show you here. One is run function. And so a function in this case means, if any of you have taken like any programming classes, this is the code function thing. A function is a block of code basically, right? And you can run these functions, and you can create a new function to run, or you can select other functions that are available to you. And here we support these runtime environments of JavaScript or Python. And so you can run a function. You can actually also use this thing we call generate here to describe to it what kind of a function you want to call, like what is its input, what is its output, what do you want it to do, and it'll create the functions. These are these code functions that are here. And so you can create a new function to call a private model of any sort, or a public model of any sort. And then you can just call that model. So it doesn't matter. As long as you have a model that you trust, you can call it using Mind Studio and implement it in any of these workflows, right? Other than that, there should be no sort of security or privacy concerns that are here. Like, we don't really store anything that's private here for you guys. And so hopefully that answers your question.
If I were to white label, is the platform like SOC 2 compliant, follow GDPR guidelines?
We are, yeah. We have, right now we have SOC 2 Type 1. We're about to get SOC 2 Type 2 compliance and GDPR.
Okay, thank you.
If the AI agent is made public or to someone with a link, are they paying for the transactions, or is the creator paying for all the transactions?
Great
and
question.
Is there a way to make it web accessible where they pay for the transactions?
There is. Thank you for asking the question. Let me share my screen again. When you, again, click here, or you can go to Explore and click here. It's the same thing. If you go to sharing here, see this thing called public use? You can enable or disable. By default, it's disabled, but you can enable and say, allow anyone to run this AI agent without making their own copy. Again, this allows them to make a copy or not. This is called remixing. Public agents will run exactly as configured, including using any of your workspace's third-party integrations instead of running the users. If users need to configure their own integrations, do not enable the setting, meaning if they need to configure their own post to their LinkedIn profile or like call their own models, etc. All runtime costs will be paid by the user running the agent. So these are passed on to the user running the agent and not to you.
That's assuming they're also logging into Mind Studio.
In this case, they have to log into Mind Studio to be able to use them. But login means just connect with Google or connect with Apple. Doesn't mean anything else. Just like push a button.
If we want to build our own web interface on top of it, is that available? And how
you can hack it to do it, but we would, and some people do it, but we generally don't support it, and so we discourage it. But your idea makes sense. Lots of people have asked for that.
Mm-hmm.
Can we white label?
Again, depends on what you mean by white label. If you mean that like nobody could ever see that this is Mind Studio powering it, the answer is no. If you mean that it's not necessarily clear whether Mind Studio is powering it or not, the answer is yes. when you create these things, you can, again, this gets a bit advanced, but I'll show it to you. Um, they expose APIs, right? And so, and there's like other things in here. You can create what's called global variables and sort of other things in here. And so you can get APIs that are that you can use as backend services. I don't want to confuse everybody here. That are exposed, and you can call those APIs from custom front ends you've created, and simply pass arguments to them and get returns back from them. And so in a sense, you could absolutely create front ends, and indeed people have, that use Mind Studio as a back end, but not sort of display these things to it. That's a more advanced thing, and I don't want to go over it here. Again, happy to hold a class of how to do that. We generally try to, those APIs are limited today in what they support, and we're a small team, and even though it's clear that there are lots of people that like to use it in this way, at this moment we're not investing in sort of making those APIs more robust. And so we don't want to sort of like overpromise to you what you can do with them if you're trying to build like some third-party service. But indeed, people have built actually, 7-figure businesses on top of Mind Studio, where Mind Studio is running in the background, and there's like front ends that are using it.
Hey, Dimitri.
Hello.
So I'm a novice, so this might be a really stupid question, but I'm interested. So if DeepMind and other models or services are running off of these, very vast and deep Google searches, and Google's the train tracks, how could Google disrupt that for you or for others? Is that a
Yeah, you mean
that
from
make sense?
if Google intentionally tried to prevent AI agents from leveraging the Google search?
Yeah, I mean, to their own benefit, or I'm just wondering if you looked forward, is that a possibility?
It's a technical possibility, but an improbability, I would say an impossibility, realistically. That is not. And I used to work at Google, by the way, for 4.25 years, and so like I have like insider knowledge. But even without that, that's not at all the way that these companies would address it. In fact, it's sort of the opposite. All of the providers of basically cloud providers, things like cloud, so
Yeah.
Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all of the AI model providers, they really want other companies like ourselves or
The
others,
data.
yeah, to use their APIs and pay them for doing that. And so it's the opposite. They're making those APIs more robust and therefore providing more capabilities to us. So there's certainly nothing for you to worry about that somehow this isn't going to be allowed or available. Yeah, it's really the opposite of that. The other thing that I'll also bring up that I didn't mention is that like some people say, well, look, like I've kind of trained my employees to like chat with ChatGPT and like, like, yes, this is more robust and like I can create these like automations and like they can just push a button instead of like typing and like looking for their prompts. So all of that is good. They like it for that. But the thing that we bring out to them is like, at this moment, at least, all of the model providers are still very young. And so their infrastructure is actually quite poor. And so these like models go up and down all the time. Like, I don't know if you guys have experienced this. Like we experience it every day where models go up and down. And if you're just like using one model or one model provider, like when it's down, you're just down. Like you can't do your work. Here you can just switch it to like any of these other model providers and instantly like continue your like operations. And this sort of like redundancy is actually extraordinarily valuable, especially if you've got like a, high volume situation going because like you're processing a bunch of things. You can't be down for a couple hours. With Mind Studio, you're never down because some model provider is always available. By the way, because you're breaking these things up into small pieces for every model call, you're not overloading any model. And therefore, like any model can do a good job. Some models will do a little bit of a faster job, better job, less expensive job. But when you're down, like you can sort of forego those things and still be up. So hopefully that makes sense.
So
By
can I
the way,
write
thanks
it?
for asking. I want to make it clear that there are no stupid questions. There are only stupid answers. And so please
Hi,
ask all the stupid questions you want.
thanks.
Everybody has these questions.
Hi,
They're not stupid at
hi,
all.
Dimitri. Yeah, thank you. It's a great presentation. Quick question. So, assuming that I create an agent on Mind Studio, right? And it's public and people use it. So, what benefit do I get if I'm not like creating a front end on top of it or wrapper or something? I mean, like, do I get a little bit of credits or something that I can use for on my own agents?
Yeah, so you're asking the question, let me rephrase it for everybody else's, because you're not the first one, obviously, to ask this, which is like a lot of people look at this and say, wow, this is like super valuable. Maybe I could make AI agents and allow other people to use them and charge them for that use. And that's an absolutely, valid way of thinking about this. Again, today we're not specifically focused on that type of a situation use case. But as I mentioned, there are absolutely a bunch of entities, individuals, companies that have already done that and that are running large businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses using us as a back end. The reason we don't lead with that and generally at this moment discourage that is because we're just not committed to supporting that kind of a use case. Again, we're a small team and we got to pick our, where we spend our time. Is it possible to do it that way? Yes. Are people doing it? Yes. Should you contact our support and say, how do I do it? You can, but we're not going to help you. And so again, not because we're being mean, but because we need to make sure that we're focused on the things we're focused on. But you can absolutely do that with Mind Studio. As we move forward, will we invest in that and make that easier? More than likely. But at this moment, we just don't want to overpromise, especially on the support side for that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, so right now only plugins are allowed and not APIs, right?
Say again?
Only plugins, only browser plugins and no APIs right now.
No, you can make these things that with Mind Studio that aren't triggered by browser plugins at all. As I was kind of showing earlier, it's like you can create things that have like front end interfaces, screens and
Right.
forms, and you can like bookmark them. You can put them behind an auth wall, and so you can put them just in your own intranet, as we used to say back in 20 years ago, like inside your network. You can yeah, so like you can do that. You can make things that are triggered by browser extensions. You can make things that run on a schedule. Let me show you this other thing here quickly. Again, it's simple. It's not that it's advanced. It just I didn't have a chance to show you. But here, if we go to the start block, you remember this thing here? By default, it's on demand. And that means somebody has to like load the URL and then trigger it by doing that. We obviously also looked at browser extension, means somebody clicks on a browser extension and does that. You can also choose other things. Email. So this gives you a custom email address right here. You can copy.
Okay.
And
So
so
you can trigger that using email. Got it.
Yeah, you can forward using emails, and this even accepts attachments. So you can forward emails to this automatically that accept attachment, and that triggers and creates input. And scheduled. And so scheduled, you can add a schedule. And so you could say, again, that this thing runs, every weekday except American
Got it.
holidays. You can go crazy with this.
Okay.
And at 2 p.m. Oops. And 4 p.m. Pacific on weekends. Like you can do like this kind of crazy stuff and say
Right.
generate schedule, no generate, and then it will automatically run this agent based upon those times, right? There's a lot of things you can do that we didn't cover.
Yeah, let's suppose I want to send notification and I trigger it on Sundays. Then I give in the data sources, I give list of emails, and I could do that.
Yep.
But regarding data sources, like can I connect it to a database and start it? So does it have to be on your side, or where is the database located? Like on my side,
Yeah,
on-prem,
you can
Azure?
connect it to any database. As long as you
Okay.
can make an API call, you can use the custom functions to make an API call.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you can connect this into any kind of again, this might be a bit technical for non-technical folks, but like you can connect it to like any kind of an IT stack, anything that can be called via API, or you can call these things via API and get returns back. Webhooks, yada yada yada.
So I have one.
And are there any available, blocks like for LinkedIn, Twitter? Like for example, you were giving an example of TweetStorm, and we were generating that. But after that, I want that TweetStorm to go automatically to my profile. Can I connect that as well?
Yeah.
And similarly on LinkedIn and all that stuff, wherein I can message through LinkedIn to my friends and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can just continue to chain these blocks. So you can say, grab the content off this page, for example, turn it into a tweet storm and post it to Twitter. Then take that and either create a new one or take that tweet storm and post that to LinkedIn, email it to these people, put it on my blog, create
I have a
draft.
specific, can I go for a specific, a detailed one? Like, for example, I want to email it to my all connections who are in US.
Yeah. So today we don't have a block that specifically allows you to look at your connections and filter them based upon who's in the US. But again, LinkedIn API, as long as they support that, you could build that custom function and expand the capabilities of Mind Studio. Sorry, one more thing I want to show you. Whenever you're in the editor, there's a link over here, hire an expert. So for those of you that aren't technical and don't want to write these custom functions, you just click here and you write what you want to do. And this goes to, we have, I think over 200 now, partners here and solutions that are partners, find the Mind Studio partner. There's many individuals and companies that are trained at building Mind Studio AI agents. You can even filter them by like cities and language and whatever. And they can engage with you and they can help you just build this one little function or integrate it into your tech stack or whatever. So like we make it super easy for you to be able to like, even if you're not technical, to just like ask for a little bit of help and get that done. And again, oftentimes like it's for $100
Got it.
or $1,000. It depends on how much you need.
I got the point.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so these are all certified partners. They have been trained by Mind Studio somehow.
Yeah, we have a certification program. By the way, if anybody wants to, sorry, let me take a step back. I promised, I think, in my LinkedIn post that I would also talk about this. Now I'll take more questions. Every company, big and small, in every industry, I believe, every minus one, every smart company, every like conscious company realizes that we are entering a new era of competitive dynamics. And that if you are to compete in whatever space you're in, that the better you are at being able to leverage, to be more autonomous, to leverage automation, to leverage intelligence, to be more productive, that is a competitive advantage. And now is an opportunity to like upgrade your IT stack with these new tools that allow you to be better than your competition, okay? The vast majority, let's not say every, but like the vast majority of companies in any industry, in any country, in any size, are looking for that. And also the vast majority of them don't know at all how to build these things. They've never seen this demo. They've never heard of Mind Studio. They just think AI is this like complex thing. They need to go somehow hire these like, engineers that understand how to build AI models and train AI models and spend millions of dollars of building custom models. Like they've got all these like wrong assumptions about what it means to be able to like leverage AI to be competitive. But you, especially now, understand that's not the case at all. So they've got these like giant needs. They've got budgets. The return on investment is insane because it's automation. It makes them more productive, more competitive, produces higher yield, reduces time, reduces cost, etc. And so there's a great opportunity to service those customers with your knowledge, for you to be able to say, I'm a professional AI agent builder. I know how AI works. I know how to orchestrate it. I know how to package it in order to solve your problems. And I'm willing to engage with you on a professional basis where you pay me to help you do that so you don't have to do it yourself. So this situation is, I don't know what word to use, is intense. There are so many. There's just a glut of companies looking for people that know how to build AI agents. And they sometimes they come to us, not sometimes, every day. Often they come to us saying, could we hire somebody? We don't want to learn to do it. We're impressed with what we can do with Mind Studio. We're too busy doing our regular business. Could we hire somebody to do it for them? That's why we have that directory. So if any of you are looking for, hey, I want to make some extra money, or I want to build an agency, or I want to be part of this like AI revolution, go. Like, we encourage you to like level up your skills, get certified, be in our directory. We are passing leads to partners. There's a never-ending demand for this type of expertise. This is certainly the foreseeable future of the best job to do. Like, it used to be, oh, you should learn to be a software developer. It's not really the case anymore. You know, AI does a pretty good job of writing code. The right job is to be a builder of AI-powered solutions, AI-powered automation, you know, AI digital transformation for any kind of organization. You can specialize in an industry or a size or whatever. You could be more generic. There are like these big analysts, Gartner, Forrester. These are like, you know, they analyze industries and analyze what they need and analyze where they're focused. For 2 years now, they've been reporting that like all of the budgets of enterprise IT spend are going to wanting to upgrade their stacks to be AI-driven automation, business process automation. So it's like a great opportunity if you want to make money doing this. There's like an absurd amount of demand in a very tight supply. Many people can build websites. Very few people can build AI agents, even though that's the demand, is for AI agents. You guys now can see, hopefully, that you could all build AI agents. Every last one of you could build AI agents. You might need some help to write a JavaScript function. You could pay somebody $100 to do that. Or you could pay somebody $10,000 to do some more stuff. But you're getting giant budgets that are flowing out. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, more questions.
Dimitri, thank you so much for the meeting today. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot. I'm still a little unclear about how we put agents behind either paywalls or within organizations. So, like, let's say we have a client that wants a bunch of agents. How do we keep those agents that only that client can get them? Or for ourselves, if we want to build a suite of agents for a certain type of customer and paywall them for ourselves, how would we do that?
So
I know
we
you
have
touched on it a little bit, but I'm still a little unclear. Thank you.
No problem. Makes sense. Thanks for asking the question. So we have a concept of what's called a workspace. You can think of a workspace as like a team that has access to all of the agents that are in a workspace. And so for your clients, you could create a workspace and put AI agents there that anybody who has access to their workspace is able to use. That's one way to package AI agents, put them in a workspace. Everybody in the workspace can use them. Another way to package them is say there's a limited number of people that can have access to this AI agent. And we can enumerate those people by their login credentials, their email addresses that they're going to log in. And so that's another way of packaging those. A third way of packaging those is, again, kind of the security through obscurity, which I'm actually going to make these public. Anyone can use them, but I'm actually only going to put them behind this paywall in which only people that could get through the paywall would ever be able to get to the public thing and they'll be able to use it. And then there's sort of like a fourth way, which is, again, it's actually not complex. Many people use it, which is to package these agents as being just these back-end APIs, put some other custom front end on them, and then you get to be able to control everything. You can have your own authentication, show them at this time, but not that time. They basically become just code that your developers use. Yeah?
So I
Thank
have
you.
I have a two-part question here. One has to do with primarily what you're providing is a vehicle to orchestrate access to a lot of different AI engines. I'm sort of leading into the question on the pricing is, are we paying you for the compute power to orchestrate? Are you adding your own AI gen on top of what might be orchestrated? So like here, I'm piecing together 3 different engines of information, and now I'm layering some Gen AI on top of it, and you're paying for that compute power. And how do you know when you've created an orchestration or an agent, how complex that is, what that's going to cost?
Yeah, great
I'll leave it there for now for you to talk, but I'm just sort of envisioning what this is.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great question. Again, all great questions. Thank you. So a couple of things. So if we look at, once again, I'll share my screen. If we look at our pricing, these are the things that cost money. Meaning they cost money to us, and we pass that on to you. Think of us like a thin layer on top of all these things that helps you glue them all together and create logic and create these workflows and create these like abstractions and automations and all that stuff. But behind the scenes, we're utilizing resources of AI models, for like text and these various providers. Again, and we show you, how much they cost. Typically, they're in the form of like input and output, right? Per million tokens, right? And so here's text, here's like image, we support text to speech, so audio, image analysis, computer vision, various additional services like crawling URLs and things like that, right? And so we take these things and we mark them up. Okay, by default in our community tier, which is completely free to use, we don't charge you any monthly costs for using it. What we do is we mark them up by 2.9%. So whatever it is you would do if you went directly to them and like wrote a bunch of code to try to leverage these models, we simply say you pay us 2.9% overage for that, and we give you like all of this value on that. Okay, so that's our model here. Now we're actually going to add some additional tiers specifically targeted for people that are just consuming primarily, that are using these AI agents that are available in our AI agent store and don't want to see like any of these like nickel and dime in a sense things. And so we're going to create some like all you can eat pricing tiers for them. But behind the scenes, they're all really based on, this kind of a pricing model here.
But are you actually doing analysis on top of the results from, like, say you've got, you can orchestrate 3 different AI engines to pull information, and then are you using or defaulting to one of those engines to do any additional analysis?
I don't think I'm understanding your question exactly. Could you try to rephrase it?
Okay, like say, I want to pull information from this source, and then I want to pull information from this other source,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want you to combine this information
Uh-huh.
from those two different sources
Mm-hmm.
that are using two different AI
Uh-huh.
models. Do you just default to one of those to do that extra analysis?
Well, you specify this. So again, let's take a look at this thing. You remember we were playing around with new YouTube video to TweetStorm. And so we did a fetch of these YouTube captions. We called one model, in this case 3.5 haiku, and then we just displayed a thing. We actually didn't call another model, but if we did call another model here, we could do that too. If we look at the debugger for these things, it actually gives us a total cost of the run in an itemization of each event that cost money. Again, in this case, it's only one event that cost money, which was calling the model here. And so that cost a penny to do. But if you've got things that are more complex, you'll find more things here, and you'll find the total run cost for the thing that you're building. Okay, and again, here we could change this model, for example. And so Claude 3.5 Haiku is great, but let's say Gemini 1.5 Flash might be cheaper, right? And so we could run this thing as well and then be able to see what's there. The other way we can do it is, again, I mentioned you could go to this like profiler tab right here, which is always available here to you. We've been in this automation tab. There are other tabs we didn't look at, like this default model settings, evaluations, which allow you to create test cases and even auto-generate test cases to test your AI model with various edge cases and things like that. This is like insanely powerful for building like really robust, production-ready, high throughput things. And then there's this profiler thing where you can say, I want to test 3.5 haiku, and here I want to test this against Gemini 1.5 Flash, and here I want to test this against, OpenAI GPT-4 Turbo, and sure, why not do the other one here, and we're going to do, Llama. Again, you can play around with any of these things instant. Here you go. Okay, and now we can do like a prompt, and here we can like import our prompt here. I'm just going to say, write a haiku, and we can see these in real time. This is 800, 8,000. Okay, things where we get like responses from these things. Okay, or like write a poem might be a better one. They'll do it, and you can see the cost, like the latency, how long it took, the output, the cost, etc. for all of these. And so you can compare these models to one another as you are building them. And so like you can have like fine-grained control of cost and latency and quality for each part of the step.
And that test is, you don't get charged until you actually run it for real.
You get charged during build as well, but again, most of the time these are very small charges, and yeah, you can build many AIs before you even run up the $5 credit that we give you like by default.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question is, are you developing anything for data analysis versus text, video, etc.?
You can build, and many people have, again, we've got over 150,000 of these things deployed, things that analyze data in many ways, create charts, route them to other systems, sort of like extract data from documents, then route them to systems that do visualization or do analysis, bring them back, route them to new models. And so data analysis is like right in the bullseye of being able to do things here.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the LinkedIn scraper. Like recently, if you have seen Apollo.io, LinkedIn has banned them to scraping the data. So, as you said, our model is going to research the data based on different sources. So, will will be a problem of licensing? Like, can we just get the content from any website, or there are some challenges you see?
Yeah, great question. So there are a couple of, I'll give you a number of answers. One is by default, we have a LinkedIn scraper basically in some of those blocks that you saw, and it's able to access LinkedIn directly from our servers. We also have integration with other providers that also have LinkedIn scrapers. Here, let me quickly show you. If you say plus and you say view blocks, if you go down, there's a company called Appify, and Appify has many different types of scrapers that you can use from this. There's sort of redundancy there. The other thing is when you are on again a LinkedIn profile and you're using an extension, for example, to do LinkedIn, this LinkedIn extension doesn't have the server scrape this, but uses because an extension has access to this profile. So anything we can see, it can see when we push the button. And so that's impossible for anybody to prevent that. And so that's one of the powers of running it in the extension. And then there's like a fourth one, which is we are about to announce a bunch of partnerships with data providers of but again, at this moment, I know of 3 that have specific licensing arrangements with various data sources and allow you to, again, you have to pay for it, but small amounts, but like to use those data sources directly. And they sort of like aggregate and compile and dedupe and make it even easier. So you don't have to like crawl. You just get an instant real-time access to data that's already been crawled by somebody that's authorized to do it and all. And so I guess the point is like, we don't see any reason, again, with the Chrome extension, you actually can't be blocked at all because like, as long as you can see it, the AI can see it as soon as you push a button. So like, hopefully between those things, all of those kind of potential problems become moot.
Yeah, so let me give my use case. So I'm in between jobs. So I'm planning to build something which can automatically scrap LinkedIn, find job matching to my profile, and apply.
I see.
And so in this case, I cannot go manually and look one job at a time. I want to just go agent to do that job. And if it works fine, then I can build an app and share with friends and family too.
Right. Yeah, look, again, you can build those kinds of things using Mind Studio and do it. You will run up against rate limiting potentially. You may, if you just do it sort of like raw, and again, there might be other problems eventually for it, but like there are ways around all of this stuff. Like again, some of this might require a little bit of like technical expertise to like find ways to do it, but like any of these use cases make sense.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
not the
more,
dominant case we're going for, but like we kind of live in this like fuzzy world now that like all of this is possible.
yeah, I'm more concerned about the legal issue because if I started doing that and share with friends and family or maybe commercialize in future, will I get any legal trouble?
I don't think so. But I'm not a lawyer. You shouldn't listen to my advice, but but I don't think so.
Hey,
Yes.
Dimitri, really very helpful insight. Actually, I have 3-part question. So the first question is, let's say I want to use this agentic AI to analyze some internal data and create some output based on that. And I deal with a lot of financial information, including social securities and all. Let's say I upload information in some self-created or like, specialized agentic AI to analyze those data and get the desired output. So my question number 1 is, since I've shared this personal information of people which somehow seems to stay on Mind Studio's platform, what data privacy risk do I run, which I would not have had I did analysis simply on my laptop, as opposed to exposing data to third-party interface. So that's my question number one. Second question is,
Well, let's take one at a time, and
okay.
we can keep going. I think these are good questions, so let's keep going. So as I mentioned earlier, there's like a number of layers of privacy and security that are common here. One of them is the one that you're pointing out, which is that like if you upload, let's say we built an AI, I showed you how you can build one with using user inputs where you can like choose a file on your computer and upload it and run some processing on it. One is kind of our security of being able to take that file and accept it and do something with it. There we follow, kind of the modern best practices of data security. Encryption, we are audited, we are SOC 2 Part 1 compliant, soon Part 2, etc. So we take that very seriously. Should be more secure than your computer, which would be the way I would generally describe it, of like where the fault would be of like the privacy things. Okay, so that's one. The second part is like when you use an AI model and you pass potentially this PII information to it. The way that we integrate with these AI models, with all of the model providers that we integrate with, there's an explicit statement in their terms of service and privacy policies that when you access them via API, which is the way we access them via API, excuse me, that they don't use any of that data that you send them. They don't store it and they don't use it for training purposes. Now, you might say, well, I don't trust anybody that says that. And that's a perfectly valid viewpoint. If that's the case, you need to figure out how to run an AI model that you do trust. And you could run your own on-premise, you could run a private cloud, you can find some provider that you trust and connect to them. But I think for the vast majority of use cases, because these clouds are run by Amazon and Google and Microsoft and OpenAI, that these are generally companies that very much care about privacy, are audited, support many high security privacy use cases that you should probably trust them generally. And in that case, there's no issue whatsoever in it for you. And so it just depends on like what is your stance on privacy and security and like where do you care about it. No matter what, there's a way for you to make Mind Studio work, might be the end result. It might be trivial that you just like trust these model provider clouds. And if that's the case, no worries at all. There might be like, I don't, therefore I need to do a little work of integrating it with my private models that I trust. That's straightforward also.
Awesome. Thank you.
One follow-up question over here. Sorry, sorry to interrupt, D. One follow-up question, Dimitri. If I'm giving you my data in terms of the database record set, or say like an Excel file which has some, data, and I ran some data analysis using Mind Studio, will Mind Studio be keeping that Excel with it for reference in their own, instance database wherever they want to, or not? After I have run this, it.
You ran.
I'm not concerned about what
history.
OpenAI is doing. I'm concerned about what Mind Studio is doing.
Yes, again, we hold a history of your run, as I showed you, and so there's like data that's kept in an encrypted database and audited that's there today. If that's not what you want, you can work around it, and again, you can call something else instead of our models and work around it. So like, again, it depends on like your security and privacy posture. Some things you might need to do some additional work for. If generally you are able to trust these other providers and able to trust a company that's venture-backed, audited, etc., then there's no additional work for you to do.
Got it.
Awesome. Sorry, continue. My second question is like, I use like multiple platforms. So am I able to build an agentic AI who can directly access those platforms on my behalf and do some things which I would have done? For example, like, making some analysis based on the exact data that system is using for me. Instead of like I downloading CSV file or Excel file and feeding agent, can this agent directly access the platform and did analysis that platform?
I think I need more specifics to it. So anything that you can do, you can make an AI agent to do. If you have access to a system, you can create an AI agent that has access to that system. Now, it might be super, super easy to do, which like requires no additional, connection to something or authentication to something. It might be something that you or your IT team needs to either open up or give you credentials for, or write a custom function to do. But generally, you should be able to integrate this into any kind of stack you can imagine.
Awesome. Sounds good. And the last question is regarding the certification program. Does one need to bring some prerequisite intelligence requirement on the table to get certified? Like, is there like hardcore barrier or elimination?
Yeah, there's a formal certification platform. You need to pass an exam, and you need to provide samples of work that you've done in order to be able to get certified. So there's a test.
Okay, sounds. Thank you so much. Again, incredibly helpful.
Thank you.
Dimitri?
Yes, guys, I've got another 5 minutes, and so I'll take questions, but I also want to make sure. So let me just state it now. One, thank you so much for like spending all this time. We had like 200 and some odd people on earlier. There's still 88 people that are here. We are over 2 hours in length of this. I appreciate your interest and engagement. And also, I'm excited to continue you guys on your journey here with us. And so keep an eye out for additional. We have a LinkedIn group and a Facebook group and a Discord, and you can be connected with me on LinkedIn. If for some reason you're not, please do connect. And so I'll be announcing more of these, and I'm excited that people want to learn this. And so like, I'm excited to take you deeper in that. So there's going to be a bunch more questions. I apologize. I have 5 kids that you might have seen me like waving them off that are saying, I'll be with you. So I'm going to have to cut it in about 5 minutes. But I promise I will continue this. And I'm excited to take you guys deeper. Hopefully by then you've also would have played with a bunch of things, and you'll also come with a bunch of new ideas and questions and all that. There's also a lot of content on our YouTube channel, right? And so I expect that these things will be held often. So I really appreciate all of your questions. And if for whatever reason, like our 5 minutes is up, I don't get to them, again, you can ping me either via LinkedIn or other ways. I'm just Dimitri at mindstudio.ai, or wait for the next one. I'll certainly do another one like within a week. So I'm not going to keep you guys waiting till I can answer more questions and all that. Okay?
Okay. Oh, I just have a quick question, Dimitri. Your store that you have, do you have more than 28 of them in there? It looked like you had more, or were those ones that you'd built that you're just not?
Yeah, those were ones that I built yeah.
Okay.
By the way, a couple of things. One is we ourselves are building more, and so every week you'll see more. My guess is you'll see anywhere from a half dozen to a dozen a week from us coming as like our output. But we also, last week, we did a webinar like this where it had a couple of hundred people, where we said, look, there's like an opportunity to help us fill in this app store. And if you know how to do it and are willing to do it and build things, then one, thank you, we'd welcome it. And two, we'll even pay you for it. Like if you build things that are valuable and can go in the store, we're venture backed. So we have more money than capabilities to get stuff done. So anybody that gets good at like building these things and wants to build it, we've got a way to pay you. And so you can do what you love and help other people and all that. I'll share some of that on my LinkedIn profile. There's a recording of that. You can look at that, like the specifics of that program. So like we're expecting in the next, month or so to certainly be over 100, and then like into the thousands of these things. And we'll have to create filters and
Thank you.
personalization. Yeah.
Great session, Maitri. So one request, not the question.
Oh, can I've been waiting in line for a while.
Yeah, please
Any
go.
answer
That's
guys?
okay. No worries. I'll stay. Yeah, go.
Sorry,
Thank you.
last question.
Wait, can I ask real quick? Because I've been waiting in line for a while.
Sure.
Thank you. So really appreciate what you went over. Let's say you create an agent that produces a report, and you yourself, the creator of the agent, offer consulting. I've seen that some folks have created like AI agents as lead magnets. Is there a way to create a booking link to connect with you as the creator so that you can basically connect the AI agent to having people reach out to you to potentially hire you?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, you're in complete control of this AI agent. And so you can get it to
Okay.
return the result, and at the bottom or top or wherever, say, hey, I'm the person that built it. Here's my contact info. Here's how you can reach me. I can build you custom agents. You can use this one as is. If you want a custom one, do this. And again, if it's good, we'll put it in our app store and we'll feature it. So there's lots of opportunities to promote your consulting business by building AI agents that people can use and then saying, oh, I build more of these things. Yeah, that's a great pattern. We are excited for people to do that.
Great. It wouldn't be to be hired to build AI agents. It would be the AI agent would be the lead magnet specifically for broader marketing consulting.
Sure.
Do you have any examples that you can highlight? Any good use cases of that come to mind that could show or
not yet?
not?
Again, because this is like a week and a day in. But in this webinar that I mentioned earlier, we brought that up specifically as a pattern that you can use. And so like we're happy for you guys to build AI agents that provide value and then promote some other services that you guys have.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one request regarding the same line. Is it possible for you or maybe in the future to come up with some kind of cohort and then help us to build something, and maybe it can be turn out to be a good business model? So it will give advantage for both win-win situation to Mind Studio as well as the people who are joining cohort. They can have their own business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so two answers to that. One is I mentioned earlier that there are some people, more technical, that have figured out that you could sort of use Mind Studio as a back end and then build custom front ends and build businesses around that. And they pay us for compute for each one of these things, and then they charge their customers, a premium to that. And while that's possible, and we're not blocking that capability, we don't encourage it, and we certainly don't want to spend our time sort of facilitating that. But if you know how to do it, that's cool. We're cool with that. The second one, which I think is actually, I'm not sure it's a better answer, but like just as good, and it might be easier, and the one that we encourage, which is like that thing that I mentioned earlier, which is like, instead of trying to hide Mind Studio kind of behind the scenes and say, oh, I've got this like custom thing I've built and pay me for this thing, there's a tremendous amount, billions, no exaggeration, billions of US dollars of demand that's out there from all kinds of organizations that are looking for solutions. They don't care how they're built. What they care about is they solve a problem. And so you can show up and say, I specialize in Mind Studio. I build these solutions. They have great ROI. I charge for by solution or by time or by project, doesn't matter. We don't care. Your choice. The value, the return on investment, the value to them, the measured value to them is extreme because most of the time that's like an automation, so people don't have to do things, or a competitive advantage, or an acceleration of yield, speed and scope of yield, so like real measurable return on investment that's dramatic. Even though the work required to build the thing actually isn't dramatic. And so you can sort of arbitrage that and create a lot of value for your customer, insane value for your customer, and a lot of money for you in having fulfilled that by using this like, elegant tool, I would call it, to be able to do that. So if you want to make money with Mind Studio, the easiest and the most straightforward way, and I think the obvious way, is to simply go and build solutions using Mind Studio for companies that have budgets to do it. Then you can charge them, they're happy to pay for it. If you're trying to obfuscate that you're using Mind Studio, again, at this moment, some people have done that. We haven't stopped them. But we also don't want to support that. It's not our business to support that. That requires us to do a bunch of extra work to make those things robust. And at this moment, that is not our focus. And I don't want to mislead you or even encourage that. Like if you do it, that's cool. But we'd rather you do it this way. This way we support it. This way it's clear you can take advantage of like all of our new capabilities. I hope that makes sense.
Thanks. Yeah.
More questions? Okay, so I think I might have neutered questions from my last thing, which is great. Again, I really should get.
I have one more, Dmitry, if it's possible. I'm Zada from Belgium. What happens if we make automations and systems around AI agents that we use at your platform? Can we be certain that there will not be like a diversion or things that might go wrong with the company or whatever, that we build like our own clients and also our own systems using your intelligent AI agents?
Meaning the stability of our company.
Stability or plans in the future to like sell the company or get this kind of stuff, because we use a lot of tools in our company. I'm not going to give you too much details, it's going to take too long. But we use a lot of tools. They change some API entries or whatever, and then we have to like puzzle out what happened because everything's got jammed up or like diverted or
yeah.
Yeah,
I understand the question. Look, so this is a fundamental question of kind of the world we live in. We are a startup. We're venture backed. We've raised $36 million. We have a bunch of money in the bank. We're going to raise more money soon. We are arguably, I think, as stable as any startup that's out there now, but this is a thing. The climate is, odd these days. So like, again, I don't want to I'm not sure exactly how to like evaluate that. Again, today's climate, all kinds of crazy stuff can happen. But generally, you should think about this as like we're a stable 8-year-old company. We are experienced. This is my third venture-backed company as a founder. I've now raised over $140 million in venture capital for 2 other companies. Between that, I was at Google for 4 years. I was at the CTO of MySpace. So we're stable, I think, as like any startup you could bet on. But then on the other side, like when I was at Google, we deprecated Google Reader and many other like Google products. And lots of people were upset that Google, this like big stable company, was all of a sudden getting rid of these products that people depended on. And then I think this is like kind of a thing with technology in general, which is periodically companies move forward and have to abandon prior ways. The good companies, and we like to think of ourselves as a good company, create upgrade paths to people to continue to move and not leave anybody sort of like high and dry on these things. But like this is a common question with like all technology. I'm not sure I've got any specific additional answer for you other than like, again, we're venture backed, we're serious, we're experienced. Yeah.
I'm not talking about the credibility, because you're very credible and it's a fantastic platform. But what I mean is, like, is there a possibility to have some kind of like a backup of this agent, that in case that there will be like some kind of disconnection between Mind Studio and ourselves, that we can like use it on, or is it not a possibility?
Yeah, there's no like sort of explicit where you can take it off the platform and run it on your own today. Well, actually, that's not true. We do offer that, but it's like super expensive to like large organizations that they can run their own copies. So like we have the capability, but we don't offer it to like sort of casual, smaller users to do that. So we've got the technical capability. Eventually, we might make it easy for you to like be able to sort of create an instance and run it on your own. But yeah, I at this moment, I don't want to overpromise. At this moment, that's a thing. Now, having said that, the things that you're building with Mind Studio are these multi-step workflow orchestrations. And if you really needed to rebuild them with some other system, like Make or Zapier or many others, you could absolutely, with some work, do that. And there might be some degradation of one thing or another, but like you could get fairly close to doing it. Yeah, so anyway, I hope that helps. I think at this moment for now, again, without overpromising, I don't think that should keep you up at night very much at this moment.
No, thank you very much, Dimitri. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, look, I really appreciate it. There's still 66 of you here. I love the dedication and the interest. We spent 2.5 hours here. This is awesome. Mad kudos to all of you. If for some reason we are not connected on LinkedIn, please find me and connect. If we are connected, please, if you feel like it, post about this, tell other people. We'd like to grow this. I'd like to have the next session have even more people. So if you want to give us, ratings or critiques, however you feel, like, and you want to express that publicly, that would be awesome. We would appreciate it. I commit to you, I promise you, that I will do many more of these. You guys were the first cohort. I was hopeful I would get like 1 to 2 dozen people to show up and stick around for an hour. Here we are 2.5 hours in, and it's still 66 people here. We had like 220 some odd earlier. And so I'm excited that you guys are interested. I'm excited to get everybody up to speed. Our incentives are aligned. We want you guys being super users. We want you loving using the extension, building custom agents, building agents for organizations, reselling these things. These are all awesome. And so I thank you very much for, again, spending the time. And I promise you that within a week, I'll hold another one of these and we can continue down the path. I'll hold a new one and an advanced one. Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Be well.